And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Thursday morning's flying weather graphic shows IFR up here. Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast through there with marginal VFR back toward the Chukchi Sea. Marginal VFR down the western part of the state here, covering much of the Bering Sea, all of the Aleutians, and along the south coast of the Alaska Peninsula with VFR, Bristol Bay, Kodiak Island, and across southern Alaska. Marginal VFR here along the southeast coast and then over the northern inside channel areas with marginal VFR along the Alaska Range on up into the Tanana Valley. For the afternoon, that retreats back to the east here with some marginal VFR over the east side and VFR in the interior. IFR eastern Brooks Range to the eastern and central Arctic coast with marginal VFR back to the west. Marginal VFR, Seward Peninsula there, especially on the north side. Norton Sound, marginal, Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta. And the Bering Sea, IFR edging eastward across Shimianatu. Good VFR again, Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, right on up into south central Alaska. And marginal VFR for the southeast coast, Yakutat, and to about Cape St. Elias. For the Friday morning time frame, we've got IFR pushing up to the south coast of Prince of Wales Island, otherwise marginal VFR for the remainder of the southeast coast to about Yakutat. Good VFR here south of the Brooks Range all the way down to Kodiak Island, westward across Bristol Bay, and all the southwest interior right out to the coastline here. Yukon Delta coast could see some marginal VFR. Seward Peninsula pretty good. Northwest coast looking marginally, looks a little marginal there. And IFR for the eastern Arctic coast. And a band of IFR trying to push eastward here, actually is edging eastward to about Kiska Island. And for the afternoon, that continues to slowly migrate eastward toward Adak, but not quite reaching the central Aleutians here, staying marginal VFR eastward there to the Alaska Peninsula. Pretty good, Nunivak Island, almost VFR, but the western area is marginal. On up through the Bering Strait into the Chukchi Sea, some marginal VFR, IFR lingering there for the eastern Arctic coast. Otherwise, VFR over mainland Alaska, all the way down to Kodiak Island again. Prince William Sound, marginal VFR, Yakutat on down the southeast coast. And for the Brooks Range passes, Anatuvik, Kanatagan, both looking IFR for the day tomorrow. Lake Clark and Merrill, good VFR, rainy VFR, windy, Isabel and Mentasta, or rainy or windy in Isabel, VFR here, but Mentasta, marginal VFR. And for Tanita, VFR, Portage, VFR, and Chilkoot and White, marginal VFR. Freezing levels here, 2,000 feet, down to about Kodiak Island there, 2,000 to 4,000 feet across the island, actually, and 2,000 feet here cutting across the southeast coast. Now over the Bering Sea, some warmer air here with upper high pressure. About 6,000 feet here over the northwest, or the northern and western Bering Sea, 2,000 feet dropping down into the east central Aleutians. And for the icing graphic, nothing of any significance out to the west. In fact, nothing of any significance except possibly here over the southeast coast. Could see some isolated moderate rime or mixed icing there, and maybe the eastern Arctic coast. And that's about it. For the jet stream here, upper level low, right over toward Eagle there with a good northerly flow coming down across the mainland area here and then taking a turn to the east in toward the southeast coast with a good 140 knot jet there cutting across Dixon Entrance. And then out here to the west, northeast wind 65 knots for the eastern Aleutians. Big area of high pressure here over the Bering Sea extending on down across the western Aleutians. And for 9,000 feet, northerly flow here with high pressure to the west, lower pressure to the east there, becoming northeast across the southeast Bering Sea and the eastern and central Aleutians, only about 35 knots or so. And then westerly winds right into the panhandle there at about 50 knots. 3,000 feet. This elevation, we've got a low pressure area right off the north coast of the Panhandle with westerly winds at about 40 knots there, heading in toward the central and south coast. Pretty light over the interior here. And otherwise, we've got west-northwesterlies, a little on the brisk side there for the eastern Arctic coast, and light north-northeasterlies here for Bristol Bay and Cook Inlet, with big area high pressure here over the Bering Sea. And then to the west of that ridge, increasing south to southwest winds associated with that front that's trying to push eastward. Turbulence-wise, with that front out there, could see some light to isolated moderate turbulence or shimmying at too. Also here for Atka Island, right on up in toward Cook Inlet, Aleutian Range, Alaska Peninsula, possibility of some isolated moderate turbulence there. More likely, though, for the eastern Beaufort Sea coastline, considerable moderate there with those stronger winds. And for the southeast coast, light to isolated moderate turbulence, mainly along the central and south coastal areas, particularly Prince of Wales Island.